Dr. Hannah Kim stood in the control room of Orbital Station Kepler 7, her coffee growing cold as she stared at the readings on her screen. 20 years she had worked here, processing refugees, scanning debris, monitoring the endless darkness of space. 20 years, and she had never seen anything like this. The escape pod drifted toward the station, like a ghost from the past. Its hull was scarred and ancient, covered in designs that predated modern human spaceflight by at least 50 years. The metal was corroded, the markings faded, but somehow it still functioned. Somehow it had survived the void. Her hands moved across the controls, guiding the pod into the docking bay with practiced precision. But her hands trembled. Something about this felt wrong. Or perhaps it felt too important, too significant for an ordinary Tuesday morning in Sector 7. Bay 3 sealed, the computer announced in its flat, emotionless voice. Atmosphere stable. Pressure normal. Hannah grabbed her scanner and rushed down the corridor. Her footsteps echoed on the metal floor as she ran, her breath coming faster. The docking bay door slid open with a hiss, and there it was, the pod, sitting in the middle of the bay like a relic from a forgotten age. Dr. Geo Park was already there, the station's chief medical officer, his scanner moving over the pod's surface. He looked up as Hannah approached, his face pale. "There's something alive in there," he said quietly. "Something small." They opened the airlock together, their hands working the manual release when the automatic systems failed to recognize the ancient technology. The seal broke with sound like a sigh, and warm air rushed out, carried with it the smell of recycled oxygen and something else, something sweet, like flowers that had never existed. Inside, wrapped in thermal blankets that should have failed decades ago, lay an infant, but it was the eyes that made Hannah gasp. Golden, pure, luminous gold, like molten sunlight captured in human form. The baby looked at her, and those impossible eyes seemed to see everything, her fear, her wonder, her racing heart. "That is not possible," Jiho whispered beside her. He raised his scanner with shaking hands, pointing at the child. The device beeped, processing, analyzing. Then it beeped again, confused. "Hannah, this does not make sense." "What do you mean?" "The DNA. It is human, but also not human. There are markers here that do not exist in our genetic database. Sequences that should not be possible. It is like looking at a puzzle where half the pieces are from a different set entirely." The baby made a soft sound, not quite a cry, more like a question. Hannah reached down without thinking and lifted the child into her arms. The baby was warm, solid, real. But those golden eyes continued to watch her with an awareness that no infant should possess. "We need to report this," Gio said, already reaching for his communicator. "Wait." Hannah held the baby closer. "Let's run more tests first. Make sure we understand what we're dealing with." They spent the next 6 hours in the medical bay, running every test they could think of. Each result came back the same, human, but wrong. The genetic code was human, but it contained sequences that matched nothing in the entire galactic database. There were markers that suggested connections to species that had been dead for thousands of years, to civilizations that existed only in ancient stories. "I am sending this to the Galactic Council," Gio finally said. "They have computers more advanced than ours. They can figure out what this child is." Across the galaxy, in the crystalline towers of the Galactic Council headquarters, automated systems receive the data. Algorithms process the genetic information, flag the anomalies, and send alerts to the relevant departments. Council Overseer Talvan, a being of pure energy contained within a shell of living crystal, glanced at the notification on his display. He saw the words human genetic anomaly and dismissed it with barely a thought. Humans were a young species, barely 200 years into space travel. They were always producing mutations, errors, strange variations. It meant nothing. "Archive it," he told his assistant, a floating sphere of silver metal, marked for review next cycle. The alert was filed away, buried under 1,000 other routine notifications. No one looked at it closely. No one saw the danger. Back on station Kepler 7, Hannah held the baby as Jiho filled out the necessary paperwork. They needed a name for the records, something simple until family could be found, if family existed. "Miho," Hannah said softly, looking down at those golden eyes. We will call him Miho. The baby Miho reached up with tiny fingers and touched her face. For a moment, Hannah felt something pass between them, a connection she could not explain. It felt like recognition, like destiny, like the beginning of something that would change everything. She did not know then how right she was. She did not know that in 15 years, those golden eyes would blaze with power that could reshape civilizations. She did not know that the Galactic Council's mistake, their casual dismissal of the alert, would cost them everything. She only knew that she held something precious, something impossible, something that should not exist, and she decided, in that moment, to protect it. 15 years had passed since Dr. Hannah Kim found the baby with golden eyes. 15 years of hiding, of teaching Miho to be careful, to be normal, to never let anyone see what he truly was. But normal was a lie that could not last forever. The pirates came on a Tuesday. They came with guns and demands, tearing through Station Kepler, 7 like a storm through paper. Miho was in the market sector when the first explosion hit, browsing old books at a vendor's stall. Try to be invisible like always. Then he saw her, Dr. Hannah, trapped under fallen debris, a piece of the ceiling crushing her legs. A pirate stood over her, raising his weapon, about to fire. Something inside Miho broke. Not his body, but something deeper, something that had been sleeping for 15 years. His golden eyes blazed like twin suns. The world slowed down around him, every movement becoming clear, every sound sharp and precise. He moved, faster than thought, faster than possible. His body became a blur of motion. The pirate's gun flew from his hands before he could even register movement. 2 more pirates turned toward Miho, their weapons rising. But he was already there, already past them, already disarming them with touches that seemed gentle but sent them flying backward. Energy rippled from Miho's hands, golden light that formed a shield around Dr. Hannah. Plasma fire from the remaining pirates hit the shield and bounced away harmlessly, scorching the walls instead. The pirates ran. They had faced many things in their violent lives, but never a human teenager whose eyes glowed like stars, whose movements defied physics, whose very presence radiated power that made their instincts scream danger. Station security arrived minutes later. They found Miho kneeling beside Dr. Hannah, his eyes still glowing faintly, the golden light fading slowly like the last rays of sunset. The security cameras had recorded everything. Within an hour, Miho was running. Dr. Hannah had pulled him aside while the medics worked on her legs, pressing a credit chip and a fake identification card into his hands. "Go to the outer rim," she whispered, her voice tight with pain and fear. "Disappear. They will come for you now. The video is already spreading. You have maybe 3 hours before this reaches the wrong people." "I cannot leave you," Miho said, tears streaming down his face. "You must. I found you for a reason. I protected you for a reason. Now run and survive. That is how you protect me." So he ran. He took the first transport off the station, using the fake ID that identified him as June Lee, a medical courier. He wore dark glasses to hide his eyes and kept his head down as the ship jumped through 3 systems before reaching the outer rim territories. Trading Post Zenith was exactly the kind of place where people did not ask questions. It floated in neutral space, a massive station where dozens of species traded goods legal and otherwise. Miho found work in the translation sector, using his strange gift with languages that he had never understood but always possessed. He could hear any language once and speak it perfectly. Could understand the clicking of the insectoid crash, the harmonic tones of the crystalline Voth, the subsonic rumbling of the massive thorians. It was like the languages already existed inside his head, waiting to be unlocked. For 3 months, he kept his head down, wore the tinted glasses always, spoke only when necessary, pretended to be ordinary. But the obsidian hand found him anyway. They came at night, moving to the trading post like shadows given form. 5 of them, alien assassins in black armor that seemed to absorb light. Miho's ability screamed warnings inside his head, a sense of danger so intense it woke him from sleep. He ran through the corridors, but they were always behind him, always getting closer. They cornered him in the cargo bay, a massive space filled with shipping containers and shadows. "You come with us," the leader said in broken human speech. "Council wants you. Dead or alive, they do not care which." Miho's eyes blazed gold. He did not want to fight, did not want to reveal himself again, but they left him no choice. Power erupted from him in waves of golden energy that sent the assassins flying backward, crashing into containers with sounds like thunder. Station alarms wailed. Lights flashed red. People were screaming. A hand grabbed his arm, pulling him toward a side door. "Come with me if you want answers," a woman's voice shouted over the chaos. Miho turned and saw her, a human woman with short black hair and determined eyes, wearing a reporter's badge from the Galactic News Network. Her name tag read Una Choi. "Who are you?" Miho gasped. "Someone who has been looking for you. Someone who knows what you are." She pulled him through the door, down a maintenance corridor. "My ship is docked in Bay 17. We have maybe 2 minutes before this entire station locks down." Behind them, the assassins were recovering, shouting into their communicators, calling for backup. "Why should I trust you?" Miho asked as they ran. "Because I know about the others," Una said. "The other golden-eyed humans the Council killed. And I know you are not the last one left." They burst into the docking bay. Her ship was small and fast, built for speed rather than comfort. The engines were already warming up. "Get in," Una commanded. "Explanations come later. Survival comes first." Miho looked back once, seeing security forces and more Obsidian Hand agents pouring into the bay. His eyes glowed brighter. He made his choice. He ran up the ramp into Una's ship. The door sealed behind them. The engines roared to life. And as Trading Post Zenith fell away behind them, Miho realized his life of hiding was over. Now came the time for answers. And perhaps for war. The ship called Wander was small and cramped, but it was fast. Una Choi pushed the engines hard, jumping through 6 different star systems in just 2 days. Each jump left Miho feeling sick and dizzy, but he did not complain. He understood they were running for their lives. In the tiny cockpit, surrounded by blinking screens and the hum of the engines, Una finally showed him her research. Files and documents filled the displays, decades' worth of information she had gathered in secret. "Look at this," she said, pulling up an old photograph. It showed a young woman with golden eyes standing in what looked like a military base. The date stamp read 50 years ago. Her name was Park Yunji. She was a soldier. One day she just disappeared. No records, no body, nothing. Miho stared at the golden eyes in the photograph. They looked exactly like his own. Una scrolled through more files, more photographs, more golden-eyed humans throughout history. A doctor from 70 years ago. A child from a mining colony 30 years back. A teacher, an engineer, a farmer, all with those impossible golden eyes. All vanished without a trace. "You are not the first," Una said quietly, "but you might be the first they could not silence quickly enough. The video of you at the station spread too fast. Millions of beings across the galaxy saw it before the Council could suppress it. The Council did this?" Miho felt cold despite the warmth of the ship. "They killed all these people?" "The Council fears what they cannot control. And you, Miho, you are something they definitely cannot control." She pulled up another file, this one containing star charts marked with strange symbols. "But I found something else. Something the Council tried very hard to erase. Coordinates buried in ancient progenitor ruins. Facilities that respond to specific genetic markers." "What are progenitors?" Miho asked. "The first species to travel through space. They built the jump gates we still use. They created technologies we barely understand. And then, 50,000 years ago, they just vanished. Every last one of them, gone." Una looked at him meaningfully. "Until now, everyone thought they were extinct. You think I am connected to them? I think you are them. Or at least, descended from them." The first facility was hidden in the Void Belt, a region of space filled with asteroids and radiation that made sensors useless. Una navigated carefully through the debris field, following coordinates that should have led to nothing. But as Miho's ship approached, something changed. A massive structure appeared, shimmering into visibility like it had been waiting. An ancient station, covered in symbols that glowed with golden light. "It is reacting to you," Yuna whispered, her voice filled with awe. Miho felt it too, a pull, like the station was calling to him, recognizing something in his blood, in his very cells. When they docked and stepped inside, the dormant systems came alive. Holographic interfaces bloomed in golden light, responding only to Miho's touch. The ancient computers contained records, genetic databases, history files, and the truth. The progenitors had not died out. They had chosen to evolve themselves, scattering their DNA across multiple species throughout the galaxy. It was a plan, a safeguard against something terrible. The files called it the Void Collective, an enemy from beyond their galaxy, something that consumed entire civilizations. They hid themselves in evolution, Miho read from the ancient text, his voice shaking. They spread their genetic code across thousands of species, waiting to naturally reemerge when the galaxy needed them again. The files showed more. The progenitors had created not just the jump gates, but also weapons and defenses that still slept in hidden places. Systems that would only activate for those who carried their bloodline. And there were others like Miho. 11 more golden-eyed humans scattered across known space. "If the Council finds them first," Yuna said, her face pale, "they will kill them all." Miho's hands clenched into fists. His eyes blazed brighter. "We have to find them first. We have to protect them." But even as he spoke, far across the galaxy, Council member Vexlar watched his own screens. His agents had tracked Yuna's ship, had found the Void Belt facility, had discovered what Miho now knew. "So the progenitors live again," Vexlar hissed, his reptilian face twisted with cold calculation. "Hidden in human DNA, waiting to reclaim their power." He turned to his elite team, the Obsidian Hand. "Find the other golden-eyed ones. All 11 of them. Kill them before they can unite." The hunt had truly begun, and it was a race neither side could afford to lose. Over the next 4 months, Miho and Yuna became ghosts. They jumped from system to system, always one step ahead of the Obsidian Hand, always searching. They found Juno first, a fighter pilot on a remote colony who had been hiding his golden eyes behind contacts his entire life. Then Sora, a medical researcher who thought she was alone in the universe. Each time they found another golden-eyed human, Miho felt something growing stronger inside him, a connection, like invisible threads linking them all together. The progenitor blood recognizing itself. But the Obsidian Hand was getting closer. They found evidence of assassinations, of golden-eyed humans killed just days before Miho could reach them. The enemy was learning, adapting, getting faster. On a frozen moon called Hellas Prime, they found Doyen, just a child of 8 years old, hiding in the ruins of a destroyed research station. His parents had been scientists studying ancient artifacts. Now they were dead, killed by assassins who had missed the boy hiding in a ventilation shaft. Miho held the terrified child as his golden eyes glowed with tears. "I will protect you," he promised. "All of you. I will not let them win." But protecting them meant finding the last facility, the main progenitor archive that the ancient files mentioned, the place where all the answers waited, the place where, perhaps, they could find a way to fight back. Yuna plotted the course to the final coordinates, deep in uncharted space. "This is it," she said. "The archive ship, hidden in quantum space, invisible to normal sensors." "How do we find something in quantum space?" Juno asked. He had proven to be a skilled pilot, helping them evade the Obsidian Hand ships multiple times. Miho looked at his hands, watching the golden energy dance across his skin. "I think it will find us, if we are all together." They gathered the others. 9 golden-eyed humans now, with 2 still missing. But they could not wait any longer. The Obsidian Hand was too close, and the files had mentioned something else. Something that made Miho's blood run cold. The Void Collective had been detected at the Galactic Rim. The enemy the progenitors had feared was coming back. And if they did not activate the ancient defenses soon, there would be nothing left to save. 6 months had passed since Miho fled Trading Post Zenith with Yuna. 6 months of running, searching, and fighting to stay alive. But now, gathered in the cargo hold of the Wanderer, 11 golden-eyed humans stood together for the first time in 50,000 years. Miho looked at each of them. Juno, the fighter pilot from Earth who had spent his whole life thinking he was a freak. Sora, the medical researcher from Mars Colony who had hidden her eyes behind brown contacts for 30 years. Young Doyen, only 8 years old, still having nightmares about the day assassins killed his parents. And 8 others, each with their own story of fear and hiding. 11, but the ancient files had spoken of 12 bloodlines. One was still missing, and they had run out of time to search. The coordinates are locked in, Yuna announced in the cockpit. The quantum space barrier is just ahead. Everyone strap in. This is going to feel very strange. She was right. When the ship crossed into quantum space, reality itself seemed to bend. Colors that had no names filled Miho's vision. Sound that should not exist echoed in his bones. For a moment that felt like forever, he could not tell where his body ended and the universe began. Then they were through, and there, floating in impossible space, was the archive ship. It was enormous, larger than any station Miho had ever seen, larger than some moons. Its surface was covered in golden symbols that pulsed with soft light, patterns that hurt to look at but felt familiar somehow. Like a song he had forgotten, but his heart still remembered. As the Wanderer approached, the archive ship came alive. Systems that had slept for 50 millennia activated. Docking bay doors opened like a mouth, welcoming its children home. They left the ship together, all 11 of them walking into the ancient vessel. The moment their feet touched the floor, light exploded around them. Holographic displays filled the air, showing star maps, genetic codes, battle plans, and histories written in languages that somehow Miho could understand. Welcome home, children and progenitors. A voice said, ancient and vast. It spoke in all languages at once. Yet Miho heard it clearly in Korean. I have waited so long for your return. The ship's artificial intelligence manifested as a figure made of golden light. It looked almost human, but its eyes contained galaxies. You know what we are? Sora asked, her voice shaking. I know what you were, what you chose to become, and what you must be again. The AI gestured, and the displays shifted, showing images of a great war fought in the darkness between galaxies. 50,000 years ago, the progenitors faced an enemy they could not defeat. The Void Collective, a consciousness that consumed entire galaxies, that turned civilizations into fuel for its endless hunger. Miho watched the images with growing horror. Worlds dying, stars going dark, species vanishing into the void. The progenitors built weapons, built defenses, but nothing worked. The Void Collective adapted to everything. So your ancestors made a choice. They devolved themselves, scattered their genetic code across hundreds of species throughout this galaxy. They hid, knowing that one day, when evolution brought the bloodlines back together, their descendants would be ready. Ready for what? Juno demanded to activate the progenitor defense network, a galaxy-wide shield, an early warning system. But it requires all 12 bloodlines united. The AI's expression grew sad. You're only 11. We could not find the 12th, Miho said. We searched everywhere. Before the AI could respond, alarms screamed through the ship. External sensors showed ships decloaking around them. Dozens of warships, all bearing the mark of the obsidian hand. They followed us. Yuna gasped, running to control panel. A face appeared on the main display. Vexlar, the council member who led the obsidian hand. His reptilian features were twisted in a cruel smile. Hello, progenitor children, he hissed. Did you think I would let you activate those ancient systems? Did you think I would allow humans to reclaim the power to rule the galaxy? He leaned closer to the camera. I have studied the old text too. I know what the defense network can do, and I will take that power for myself. The system will not work for you, the AI stated calmly. Only progenitor DNA can activate it. Then I will force them to activate it for me. I have ways of making even the strongest will break. Vexlar's smile widened. Surrender now, or I will destroy the archive and kill every golden-eyed human in the galaxy. I have agents everywhere. Even now, they hunt the 12th bloodline. Miho felt rage building inside him. His eyes blazed brighter than ever before. Around him, the other 10 began to glow as well, their combined power making the air itself shimmer. "We do not surrender," Miho said quietly. "Then you die." Vexlar cut the transmission. Weapons fire lit up quantum space. The archive shields activated, ancient technology meeting modern warfare. The ship shook under the assault. "The shield will not last long," the AI warned. 50,000 years of sleep has weakened my systems." Sora was studying a genetic display, her medical knowledge racing through the data. Suddenly she froze, her eyes going wide. "Yuna," she whispered, "come here. Let me scan you." "This is not the time," Yuna protested. "Please, trust me." Sora's hands shook as she held up a portable scanner. Yuna stood still as the scan completed. The results appeared on the display, and everyone in the room went silent. Trace progenitor markers, dormant genetic sequences, patterns that matched the other 11 perfectly. "Your grandmother was Korean," Sora said slowly. "But your grandfather, you said you never knew where he came from." Yuna's brown eyes began to change. Golden flecks appeared, spreading like dawn breaking across a dark sky. She gasped, staggering as power flooded through her body. The dormant bloodline, triggered by proximity to the others, finally awakening after generations of sleep. "I am the 12th, she whispered, staring at her hands as golden light danced across her skin. The archive ship's AI smiled. "Now you are complete. 12 bloodlines, united at last." Outside, Vexlar's fleet prepared for final assault. Inside, 12 humans with golden eyes joined hands, their combined power beginning to wake systems that had slumbered since before human civilization existed. The real battle was about to begin, and the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The battle shook quantum space itself. Vexlar's fleet fired everything they had at the ancient archive ship. Energy weapons turned the darkness bright with destruction. Missiles exploded against shields that had protected the progenitor's secrets for 50,000 years. But those shields were failing now, weakening with each strike. Inside the archive, Miho and the others ran through corridors filled with smoke and sparks. Systems were failing all around them. The ship's AI directed them toward the command center, a massive chamber at the heart of the vessel. "We must reach the core," the AI's voice echoed through the chaos. "Only there can the defense network be activated." They ran together, all 12 now, their golden eyes blazing in the darkness like stars guiding the way. Young Doyen held tight to Miho's hand, tears streaming down his face, but his steps never faltering. Juno and Sora worked together to seal blast doors behind them, slowing Vexlar's boarding parties that had begun teleporting onto the ship. The command center was beyond anything Miho had imagined. It was a sphere of pure golden light, floating in the center of a chamber so vast he could not see the walls. Control interfaces surrounded the sphere, waiting, hungry for the touch of progenitor blood. But they were not alone. Vexlar stood in the center of the sphere, surrounded by his elite guards in their black armor. Somehow he had teleported directly into the most protected part of the ship. Impressive, is it not? Vexlar gestured at the ancient technology around them, the power of the progenitors, waiting to be claimed. "With this, I will not just control the Council. I will control the galaxy itself." "The system will reject you," Yuna said, her newly awakened golden eyes steady and bright. "It only responds to progenitor DNA. Then you will activate it for me." Vexlar raised his weapon, pointing it at young Doyen. "The child dies first if you refuse. Then the others, one by one, until you obey." Miho felt rage like fire in his blood. His power surged, golden energy crackling around his hands. But Vexlar's guards raised their weapons too, all aimed at the child. "Think carefully," Vexlar hissed. "You cannot move fast enough to save him." The AI's voice whispered in Miho's mind alone. "There's another way. If all 12 of you connect to the system at once, your combined will can override any attempts at control. But you must choose what the defense network becomes. A weapon of domination or a shield for all." Miho looked at the others. At Juno, who had lived a lie his whole life. At Sora, who had hidden in fear for decades. At Yuna, who had risked everything to find the truth. at little Doyen, who deserved a galaxy where he did not have to be afraid. Together, Miho said quietly, "On my mark." They moved as one. 12 humans touched the golden interfaces simultaneously. Power exploded through them, connecting their minds, their hearts, their very souls. The defense network woke with a roar that shook reality. Across the galaxy, dormant progenitor stations burst to life. Ancient sensors activated, scanning for threats. Defense grids powered up, ready to protect countless worlds. The network spread like golden roots through the fabric of space itself. Vexlar tried to seize control, his will hammering against the system. "Obey me. I command you." But the system did not recognize him. It knew only the 12, connected in ways deeper than blood, bound by choice and sacrifice and hope. Miho felt the power at his fingertips. He could make himself a god, could make humanity the rulers of everything, could take revenge on the council that had hunted them, that had killed so many golden-eyed humans throughout history. The network waited for his choice. He thought of Dr. Hannah, who had protected him when she could have turned him over to the authorities. He thought of all the species in the galaxy, just trying to survive, to build lives, to find meaning. He thought of what the progenitors had truly wanted, not to rule, but to protect. "Open access to all species," Miho commanded, his voice ringing with power. "No masters, no rulers. The defense network belongs to everyone, equals working together." The system obeyed. Control interfaces appeared on council worlds, on human colonies, on stations across the galaxy. The defense network deployed as a gift, freely shared, asking nothing in return except cooperation. Vexlar screamed in fury. "No, the power should be mine." He lunged at Miho, but golden energy surrounded the 12 like a shield. Vexlar's guards grabbed their leader and teleported away before the archive security systems could trap them. They fled, defeated not by force, but by a choice they had never expected. The battle ended. The fleet retreated. Across the galaxy, beings of every species watched in awe as humans, descendants of the legendary progenitors, chose partnership over power. 3 months later, Miho stood in the observation deck of Station Kepler 7. Dr. Hannah Kim sat beside him in her wheelchair, her legs still healing from the pirate attack that started everything. "You could have ruled them all," she said softly, looking out at the stars. The progenitors did not want rulers. They wanted the galaxy to survive together. Miho smiled, his golden eyes reflecting the starlight. "I am still just Miho, still human. That is enough." Behind them, Yuno worked with the Reformed Galactic Council, teaching them to use the defense network. The other golden-eyed humans had scattered across the galaxy, but they remained connected, always aware of each other, always ready to help if needed. The council had changed too. Vexlar had been removed from power. New members, chosen for wisdom rather than ambition, worked to build something better. Trust would take time, but it was beginning. Miho's communicator beeped. He checked it and felt his blood run cold. A message from the defense network's long-range sensors. Contact detected at the Galactic Rim. Multiple massive vessels. Energy signatures unknown. Classification Void Collective. He looked at Hannah, then out at the peaceful stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of their galaxy, an ancient enemy was coming. The threat that had forced the progenitors to hide for 50,000 years was finally here. But this time, the galaxy would not face it divided. This time, they would stand together, human and alien, 12 bloodlines and 1 billion species, united by choice rather than conquest. Miho's eyes blazed brighter as he activated his communicator, reaching out to the other 11 across the stars. "It is time," he said simply. The real test was beginning, but humanity, and the galaxy it had chosen to protect rather than rule, was ready. The defense network hummed to life across 1 trillion worlds. And in the darkness beyond, the Void Collective came closer. But they would find something they had never encountered before. Not a divided galaxy of fearful species, but a united front of countless civilizations standing shoulder to shoulder. The progenitors had hidden in evolution, waiting for this moment, and their descendants had made them proud. The story was not over. It was only beginning.